Whiteouts can leave us all with a little cabin fever. The perfect remedy is getting backcountry and arising the senses once more. Beyond the confines of Falls Creek Snow Resort lies a backcountry of immense beauty and crispy corn. Talk of the steeps and the chutes of Mt McKay and carving tree lines through Pretty Valley. Settled in this backcountry was Winter Olympian and world-class freerider Steve Lee. All right, Steve Lee.
Yo, yo.
Good to meet you again.
You too. Welcome to Falls Creek.
Thank you. This is your office.
This is my office, yeah, not a bad place to spend your days. You know, out in the, not quite the wilderness, but just nice out of the resort. Very few people around out here, the odd hikers, and yeah, we just lap this whole area. It's a lot of fun.
What do you get up to out here? You're obviously doing your backcountry, but what can people expect?
Well, we're sitting on one of our rigs here, which is snowmobile and a backcountry rig, which sits 4 guests per sled, or 5 in total. So we can do with the 2 setups that we've got, we can do 9 guests in a lift. So it's similar to a cat or heli skiing style operation. We've got 450 hectares of beautiful terrain out here that we operate in, and pick up from the resort and get out of everyone's hair, you know. So our operation suits anyone that's sort of intermediate, strong intermediate. If you're happy here skiing, the blues and the blacks, then you're going to love it. And when did you decide to come out the back here? What was the trigger for you? Well, when I was about 12, we used to sneak out from the resort, and when you grow up in a ski area, you learn it pretty well, and you look out at the mountains, and it's that natural attraction of what's over the next hill and what's down there. And so as kids, there was sort of these mythical areas down to Road 24 and off the back of the summit. And so as youngsters, we started exploring that, and that sort of got the attraction to the backcountry. For the actual business-wise, I actually started the snowmobile tours here first in the mid-90s. I had my first business up here in the 80s, photography business.
Yeah.
So it took a while to get that permission for that to get through.
Yeah.
But I got that started mid-90s. They had actually looked at putting lifts in through all these areas here in the late 90s, and that unfortunately, or fortunately for me maybe, went by the wayside and just didn't happen. And the resort were told if you don't use it, you'll lose it. So they started a cat skiing operation out here.
Yep.
And in 2000, which went really well for several years. And then just sort of died in the bum. The cat was old, it was expensive to run. There wasn't much will from the lift company to run that anymore. And I'd been doing a bit of guiding for that, and sort of could see that it was a dying entity. So these big new 4-stroke snowmobiles were being introduced that had big towing capacity.
Yep.
Came to the thought of doing it all with snowmobiles, and so a couple of us got together and built this one, the rig over there first, and then second this rig, and tested it out, and it worked beautifully. And so we just switched it from cat skiing to snowmobile skiing.
Yeah.
I think this is our 9th season now, so it must have been sort of 2010 thereabouts.
Yep. So you get a lot of repeat customers, people just keep coming back?
We get a lot of repeat customers. So crew that are holidaying here, they'll generally book in every time they come. We've got a lot of regulars or staff that come out. So it's good, if you're not doing a good job, then you're not going to get that repeats, and we're getting a heap of repeats, so yeah, it's good. When it snows, this year we've had an exceptionally good season, but we had 10 weeks of under 0 degree temps for Australia. That's a lot. So we had only having a handful of crew out here. We just farm it and ski fresh tracks pretty much.
Yeah.
10, 12 days after a storm, we're still finding fresh tracks. So,
wow.
And that's part of the appeal, is being looking down a hill and not having any tracks in front of you. And if you look around, nature does an amazing job of grooming. So it's always nice and smooth out here. And in springtime, it's even more epic because you get the melt freezes. So, the face up on McKay has been skied heaps. Leave it for a day, and the next day it's smooth again.
Can you remember when you first came to Falls, or when it all sort of happened for you? You obviously got a affiliation to Falls Creek.
I do.
Love
I can't
here.
say I do remember because I was 6 weeks older first. So I grew up here. My mum came here in the 50s, mid-50s, 54 in fact. She was the first person in our family to start the skiing, and she got bitten by the bug well and truly.
Yeah.
And she'd never been to the snow. She'd seen photos and just thought it looked amazing. And so the first year she was working, her and her girlfriend booked a holiday to Falls and 54, and they came down, and as you did in those days, got dropped off at the snow line, which was about 7 k's below the resort, and they had to walk from there in.
Hard yards.
Loved it, came back every year, then introduced my dad to it when they started dating. Then in the 60s they started managing lodges up here. then mid-60s with a couple of kids, or 3 kids by then. They thought, well, we're either going to have to leave or make this our life. So fortunately for all of our family and many other people, they made it their life and managed another lodge for a year or two, then got a little block, or actually a good sized block, and built a little lodge on it to start off with in the late 60s, and that was our family. That's Atunga Lodge, which is still a great bar, restaurant, lodge up here.
So with that Atunga Lodge, did you ever find yourself in the kitchen there, rolling out meals?
I was peeling spuds and all that kind of stuff, and trying to steal food out of the pantry most of the time. Being an athletic young lad, I was always hungry. So my dad did most of the cooking initially, and then as it grew, they got proper chefs in and ran a really good food establishment for many years. So I certainly enjoyed the food that came out of it. But I was full-time ski racing and training and didn't have a lot of time. I mean, I contributed. I had jobs to do around the lodges, as pretty much any family business has. But predominantly I was out skiing and training and eating.
In those days of you competing, like what was your sustenance, I guess, with your food that kept you going? Was there any? Were you on a proper diet then, or was it a bit pizza and chips?
We had good wholesome food through the lodge, but I would eat ridiculous amounts of food, as most teenage boys do. It wasn't until I sort of got to my early 20s and I was full-on professional athlete, ski racer, that food became sort of a thought process of what you put in. Your body is using it for fuel. So, and it really probably when I was about 23, and I'd take about a month off a year and just chill out from training and everything, and play up a bit during that time. And you'd, within a week or two of coming back, you'd work off the excess. And at 23, 24, the excess wasn't coming off quite as quick. So I started thinking about food and explored a bunch of different diet avenues and what food does and how you burn it and how your metabolism works, and I really got right into it and changed my whole eating regime to where I probably cut my food intake in half, I reckon, easily.
Wow. So Chef John has told me you got an affiliation with Portuguese chicken.
Love Portuguese chicken. Fantastic, the spices, a bit of heat. Yeah, it's a great bit of tucker, and he does it very well.
Yes. Sure he does. So is there anyone on the mountain doing Portuguese chicken to your liking, or is it something you cook at home, or wait for John to come?
Wait for John to come round to the house, but no, that's a Huckabah thing. So I probably have it a couple of times a week over in Huckabah. And living on this mountain, Falls Creek, I think there's 40 licensed establishments in this little village, and a heap of great eateries. So you're never short of getting a good feed.
So you touched on Huckabah before. So you've obviously been double up the winters for a while. What do you got going on over there?
For a while. Well, I started doing back-to-back winters at 14, and I think I'm up to about 96 or 97 winters now.
Oh wow!
In my life, so
due for
be looking forward to cracking the 100. I get to surf in between. I've always loved winter, and the heat of summer's I've never been all that big on. I think I get that from my mum. She gets very aggravated in the heat. So I think it was better to go away in summer and go skiing. But Huckabah's been awesome. I've been there. This will be my ninth season there, and I was fortunate enough to buy a little establishment over there, little lodge, which we just do group bookings. Sleeps 12. We do a good brekkie. We don't do any other meals there, apart from Portuguese chicken. But some great takeaway options there. But the food's so good over there, and there's so many great restaurants in Huckabah as well. Obviously many Japanese, but a few other styles as well. So
Steve, you've been kind enough to put on a barbecue today for your staff and invite John and I along. We're all fueled up now. Do you reckon we could get up on the mountain now?
Let's fire the sleds up and go make some turns. That's what we're here for.